everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can find me on dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com, and of course the Facebook group and Twitter. And you can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, and Patreon. It is October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody. Hope you're having a good one, whether you're out partying it up or taking your little ones trick-or-treating or passing out candy. I myself am going to be out later tonight taking my daughter trick-or-treating. She is going to be Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls, and then she's going to have Buttercup and Blossom along with her so people understand who she is. I myself have got a couple different costumes I'm going to do. I got one for work. I got one for trick-or-treating later. Very simple, not very elaborate costumes, but, you know, it's Halloween. I like to dress up. It's the one day of the year I can actually dress up like a sci-fi or superhero or fantasy character, and people not look at me like I'm crazy. So I got to take advantage of this. Welcome back, everyone. I have been off. I did not do any shows last week. This weekend, my wife and I actually headed over to New Orleans. We drove from Austin to New Orleans and spent some time over there, a couple of days with some friends of ours. Had a great time in the Big Easy. Really cool, super fun. But now I feel like I need another vacation because I am behind on all my shows. I'm a couple episodes behind on Star Trek Discovery, a couple episodes behind on The Gifted. I didn't catch Star Wars Rebels last night. I am behind. And yes, I will confess, I have not watched any of Stranger Things Season 2. I was going to sit down and do that last night, but both my wife and my brother-in-law were on the Netflix account, and so I couldn't watch anything. So, going to try to get to that, hopefully get a review out for you in the next couple days, let you know my thoughts on it. I haven't got anything spoiled so far. Like, people have been posting their reviews about it, but I haven't been on Twitter that much either, so possibly that's why I haven't got anything spoiled. So maybe I should avoid Twitter for a little while until I actually finish Stranger Things Season 2. We'll wait and see, guys, but hopefully I'll get that out. I'll get caught up on my shows, and we'll get caught up on all the news. Several things came out last week and the last couple of days while I was gone. I'm going to run through a few things here right now, and then in the next couple of days, hopefully I'll get to the rest of it, and we'll get through it eventually, guys. So bear with me, sit down, relax, and let's talk some news. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is a recommendation for all you Star Wars fans. Of course, everyone knows who listens to this show knows I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And since Lisa and I were on a road trip this weekend, we listened to a Star Wars audiobook. It's a new book that came out last month, or I think beginning of this month, called A Certain Point of View. Now, it's a little different compared to other Star Wars books that have come out lately. With this one, it's a bunch of short stories composed of 43 authors. A lot of them are familiar authors in the Star Wars world, such as Claudia Gray, Chuck Wendell, Pablo Hidalgo even threw one in there. And then you have Paul S. Kemp, Jason Fry, Greg Rucka. A lot of known Star Wars writers wrote these short stories. And what it is, it's a bunch of side stories that take place within the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. So say, for instance, the very first one was written by Gray Whitta, and it actually is the character Ramus Antilles, who is one of those side characters in the Star Wars saga that we know, but we don't know very well. And in this one, it's about the time between Rogue One at the end there, when they escape from the Empire with the Death Star plans, to the beginning of A New Hope, when they're being boarded by Vader and the Stormtroopers. Then there's another story in there about R5-D4, which is the little red droid that blew up and had a bad motivator, so Luke and Uncle Owen were forced to take R2-D2 instead. Little stories like that, and they all take place within that first Star Wars film. And it's kind of interesting. Some of them are like, whatever, but some of them are actually really cool too, especially ones that take place within our favorite characters. There are several Obi-Wan Kenobi stories in there, or Obi-Wan Kenobi point of views, One of them is set between when Luke goes to see what happened to his aunt and uncle to when he comes back and decides to leave the planet with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is actually conversing with his old master Qui-Gon through the Force, and they're talking about the events that have happened and Luke, and we come to find out that Obi-Wan has actually been conversing with Qui-Gon for quite a bit of time, for many years. And I find that interesting because it adds to canon. There are several things in here that add to the Star Wars canon, since everything is considered canon now. Comics, books, movies, it all counts. And with this, Obi-Wan's been talking to Qui-Gon for several years, so possibly in the Obi-Wan spin-off movie that we're all hopefully getting in a couple of years, we can hear Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon and possibly a Force ghost. That'd be cool, right? The other Obi-Wan story that I enjoyed was right after his death. Obi-Wan wakes up and he's in his old house or his hut on Tatooine, but it's how it was several years ago, not how it was present day. And he comes to find out that he died, that Vader slashed him, and he's trying to figure out kind of what it all means and what he can do, because he's getting flashes of his old life, he's getting flashes of the future, and he has to figure out a way to compose himself in this form to help Luke and tell him to run, Luke, run, that line. Another cool, just Obi-Wan. I'm a big Obi-Wan guy, so I really enjoyed those stories. There's a Greedo storyline in here too, where you see just why Greedo doesn't like Han Solo. You get his motivation as to why he's so trigger happy to shoot Han. But also in that scene, this is something that me and Lisa talked about, just to not try to spoil it too much for you, but it's when Greedo walks into the cantina, kind of his mindset and what he's thinking, to when he walks up to Solo and points the blaster at him, to when Han shoots him. And everyone knows, in the original edition, Han shot first, or was the only one to shoot, versus the special editions, where Greedo shot across Han's head, and then Han shot Greedo. A lot of big Star Wars fans did not like that. They think that Han being the one to shoot first says a lot about the character, and Greedo shooting first ruins what the character is supposed to mean at this point in the story, all that stuff. In this storyline, you don't per se get to see if Greedo shot first, but they never said that Greedo shot. So to me, I'm putting that as, okay, well, Greedo didn't shoot. But Lisa, my wife, seems to think that just because they didn't mention it doesn't mean he didn't shoot. But the whole story was taking place in Greedo's head, so why would they not tell you that he shot if it's all from his point of view? See what I'm saying? So then, of course, we had an argument about if the canon now is original edition versus special edition, because in the original edition, Han was the only one to shoot, and in this story, it didn't seem like Greedo shot at all. So we had a little lengthy conversation about this and how she thinks that I'm just projecting my own wish fulfillment onto the story, which I am. I know I am, and I know the special editions are canon, but in my eyes, this to me gives me hope that possibly the original editions, the ones that I'm going to watch here in the next couple of weeks to review the Star Wars saga, are the ones that count. And there were a couple of funny ones in here too that we really enjoyed. There was one that was a Boba Fett storyline, which was the scene when Han goes to talk to Jabba before they take off from Mos Eisley, which I guess you could say, since it's in the special edition and not the original edition, again kind of says that yes, the special editions are what's canon. Anyway, it's read by John Hamm, and it's basically just Boba Fett in his head talking to Big Game, thinking he's awesome, thinking he's so cool, and it's really funny. There's another one about the stormtrooper who is part of the crew that Ben Kenobi mind controls, saying, you don't need to see his identification. Move along. And it's one of those guys, and he's really funny, really good storyline there. There's a couple duds. There's a couple that I really didn't care about. For the most part, they were all pretty interesting. When I started the book, I wasn't sure what to expect. I heard good things and bad things. But overall, I enjoyed it, actually. You get a lot of different flavors in this book. You get some really good, deep storylines. You get some funny storylines. You get some throwaway storylines. It's a mixed bag. You're not going to like all of them. I didn't like all of them. I can't imagine anyone's going to like all of them. But you get the different perspectives from this saga. You get these minor characters. It's really just a fun thing to go through. So check it out. Star Wars, A Certain Point of View. If you're a Star Wars fan and love the trilogy as much as I do, or the saga as much as I do, I recommend checking it out, guys. Alright, guys. Well, next up on the agenda is probably the biggest story that I think came out while I was on my little vacation or hiatus. And that is Zachary Levi, Chuck himself, has been cast as Shazam in the upcoming adaptation directed by David F. Sandberg. Now, for those of you not familiar with the character, he was created in 1939 by artist C.C. Beck and writer Bill Parker. First appeared in Fawcett Comic Wiz Comics #2. I know I probably mispronounced that or said that wrong, but that's what it is, guys. So in this storyline, Shazam is actually teenage Billy Batson, who transforms into the world's mightiest mortal and is given extraordinary abilities by ancient gods. Billy Batson has not been cast at this time, although Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was cast as Shazam's rival, Black Adam, several years ago. People have waited a long time to see who was going to be cast as Shazam. Zachary Levi from the Thor films, from Chuck, from Tangled, was announced, and the film is set to come out, looks like, in April 2019. And like I said, David F. Sandberg, the guy who directed Lights Out and Annabelle Creation, will be behind the scenes. Now, The Rock will not join this production. It's said that Black Adam is going to get his own separate anti-hero projects. So no one quite knows who the villain's going to be for this one. People are suggesting a possible replacement villain as Dr. Savannah. So Zachary Levi cast as Shazam, folks. That's right. I am a fan of this show, Chuck. I have all 5 seasons on TV. I love Zachary Levi and all the cast because of what they did on this show. I know a lot of people aren't too happy with this casting, but you know what? People have been upset about castings all the way back in 1980s for Michael Keaton as Batman, going back to Heath Ledger as Joker, etc., etc. Get over it, guys, okay? This is who they picked. This is who we should have our faith in. And honestly, I do have faith in him. Zachary Levi is a good actor. I've seen him in several things now, and thinking about who Shazam is or who Shazam needs to be, not from a muscle perspective, but from an acting perspective, I think Zachary Levi works, guys. So stay with me on this. If you watch the show Chuck, which again, I said I'm a fan of, Chuck is a guy who is your average nerd who is downloaded with a bunch of government secrets. His world becomes the average spy life, and he has to go through all these dangerous situations, but really he's just a nerdy guy, so it's funny. That's, you know, the appeal of the show is they have the average guy going through all this stuff. He has this kind of innocence to him, or the character does at least, and I think that's what Zachary Levi is going to bring to the character Shazam. Because yes, Shazam is this god who's big, muscly, red outfit, white and yellow cape, but he's also still a teenage kid. He's still innocent. And the kind of qualities that Zachary Levi brought to Chuck, I think, is what he's going to bring to this character. Because even though we see a big, powerful god, Captain Marvel, he's really just a kid. And I think you have to show that in the adult form still. And I think Zachary Levi, you know, we've seen actors bulk up quite a bit for their roles. I know Zachary Levi, being a committed actor, is going to do just that. So honestly, I'm okay with this, guys. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's not big, muscly, blah, blah. Forget it, okay? If you go and you watch Zachary Levi's previous work, go watch Chuck, of course, the main thing, and go back and watch that Heroes Reborn, anything that he's in, I think if you know his body of work, you're going to be able to tell that he can pull this off from an acting perspective. Muscles, whatever. They can give him CG muscles. But I believe this is a smart choice by DC Comics and Warner Brothers. Now, I'm not a big Shazam fan. I first saw Shazam back in Kingdom Come when he had his showdown with Superman. And then you have Jeff Johns' most recent retelling of his origin, which you can go check out. Although that one has Black Adam in it, and I'm really curious why they're not putting Black Adam in there. Sure, from a fanboy perspective, he's a popular character, anti-hero. I don't think he's that popular, though, to be honest, to give him his own movie. Yeah, it's The Rock, so you could probably get a little bit of bump. I think he deserves to be, or should be, in this movie with Shazam. I don't think he deserves his own movie. Same way as I don't think Doctor Doom deserves his own movie or Joker deserves his own movie. They work best with their hero. What makes them interesting is they're the counterpart to our hero. They help our hero in the struggle. So to give the villain their own story without the hero doesn't make much sense to me. Doesn't sound interesting to me. I know they're looking at other villains. That's fine. The director, what's his name? David F. Sandberg. I'm not familiar with Lights Out. I never saw any of the Annabelle movies. Not familiar with him at all, so I don't know really what he's going to bring to the character. And honestly, I'm not a big Shazam fan. I think, he works well, especially as a counterpart to Superman, because he's one of the few people in the DC universe that can go toe-to-toe with Superman and almost beat him. So for that, I think that's cool. But I'm not a big fan of the character. I'm a big fan of Zachary Levi. I'm a big fan and a big cheerleader for DC Comics and Warner Brothers and hoping they get their shit together. So for this, I'm okay with this. As far as the casting, I'm down with it. I'm okay with it. Go check out the Jeff Johns book, Shazam. Learn about the character. Learn about what they could possibly do with the character. And also fire back and let me know what you think about the Zachary Levi casting, because I'm on board with it. I'm a Zachary Levi fan, and yesterday I thought about what he has done in Chuck and since then, and I think he can pull it off. I think he can do it. I think he's going to bulk up, and I think we're all going to be okay. So anybody else want to come at me and tell me I'm wrong? Come at me. I'll tell you why you're wrong, son. Alright guys, well that's all I have time for today. I gotta get ready for work. And then of course, like I said, taking my daughter trick or treating. Everyone have a safe one out there. If you have any questions, comments, hit me up, daysspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Of course, find me on the Facebook group or on Twitter. You can find me personally on Twitter and Instagram at SlimDayspring12. Tomorrow's Wednesday, guys, so I don't do a show on Wednesdays. So I'll be back on Thursday, some more news, maybe some comics, and hopefully I'll have watched a little bit of Stranger Things Season 2, maybe even finished it if I have enough time. So until next time, may the Force be with us all.